This log cottage stands on the north shore of Malachi Lake. It has been used for storage for the last 15 years. The last person to actually reside in the cottage was Norm Stammers. With the help of Jeff Stevenson, who took this video in February of 1994, we are going to learn the history of this cottage, and along with it, some history of the lake.
And there's the new owner right there. What have you got to say for yourself there, Norm?
Well, not much. You wanted to know a little bit about the cottage, did you?
Yeah.
Well, it was built. It's an old log cabin. It's one of the last of the log cabins around the lake now, I guess. It was built in the mid-1930s by Ed Parnell and his son, Ed Parnell. And it was built as their family was growing up. It was built as a summer place. It's quite unique in a way. It's got 4 walls, a floor, and a roof. You don't see that very often anymore. And it's got a few additions to it, but I've left it pretty well the same as when I bought it in 1970. I got the cottage and a quarter section of land out here for at that time what seemed like an exorbitant price of $1,000. I couldn't believe my ears actually when the lady said that I could have it for $1,000. And I've loved it ever since. The inside is about almost the same as when I bought it 24 years ago. You're now looking at the back of the cottage with one improvement that wasn't here before, and that's a light. When the cottage was made, of course, there was no electricity, and so they couldn't have a kerosene lamp up there. But now I've got electricity in the place, and it's become a little bit more modern than it was at the time. When Mr. Parnell came here, he got to work on the CNR section, and besides building his home here, he also homesteaded. And this area out the back here was all farmland at one time. And a good friend of mine, Gordon Greengrass, came down here and looked after the old man's cow and horse that he had. And this was all plowed up land at the time. The bush actually was right up here, but you see it now, it's back there a bit, and actually it's coming towards us again. Don't take too long on that hippie. I'm going to put my sunglasses on. That sun is bright on my eye. Mr. Parnell actually was on his way from Scotland, and he was on his way to Virden, Manitoba, where he was going to homestead. And when he got here, he met a fellow by the name of Joe Howard that was already established here at Malachi. And Joe Howard convinced Mr. Parnell to get off the train and settle here, which he did. And that was about 1912. And after he got settled here, his house was away back in the bush over there. After he got settled, he sent for his wife and Ed Jr. to come out. And in the cottage is a steamer trunk that Mrs. Parnell brought with her when she came out with little Ed. And after I had got the cottage and fell in love with it and everything, I went around and found Ed Parnell, he's living in Vivian at the moment, and asked him how come he didn't take over the cottage. And he said, Norm, he said, I lived here 365 days a year for 10 years. Our only lighting was a coil oil lamp. In the winter time, it was dark at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and stayed dark until about 9 o'clock the next morning. Our education was in the form of a CNR car that came once every couple of months, taught us reading, writing, arithmetic. And so when I got a chance to get out of here, I got on the CN section and I got out and never wanted to return. And he told me, like he said, that it's all right for people to come down for a couple of months a year in the summertime and enjoy the lake, which is beautiful. But when you've lived here half your life, year-round, you're glad to get away. Creaking. Come in, Jeff, and take a look. You chaps been in here
We need
before?
a hand round. Nope.
That's an old cook stove. It's a wood burner that the people at the time heated the cottage with it and also did their cooking on it. The young people of today probably never see a thing like that at all. And behind you there is one of the old ice boxes from around the 1920s. And there in front of Stan is the steamer trunk that came over with Mrs. Parnell. The name is still on there. And it's reputed to have a fortune hidden in there. I've never looked. The stuff that was in there when I came is still in there. Well, of course, I've only been here for 25 years, so. That dresser that's over there, Jeff, that must be about 100 years old. The radios, you see, they're modern. And this oil burner is one that came out of the CNR section gang. That's fairly modern. But most of it is as I got it. And left it just the way it is. It's beginning to creak and groan now, and that's a kerosene. It's just like, what do they call them, the gasoline things, but it's heated by kerosene. Pretty dirty. Don't look at the dirt. That cupboard was there. There's dishes in there that came out of the old Quaker Oat boxes. When Quaker Oat was selling their product, they'd there, I've got about a dozen of them, and they're 50 years old anyway. The plates, everything is just about the way. There's two reasons for everything being about the same way as it was. I'm a very sentimental old son of a gun. I'm also a very lazy son of a gun. So except for the electricity and the fridge, everything's about the same as when I got here. Johnny Black here rented this place at one time, and it had 21 people in it. His family and his relatives and all came down for the summer, and between the kids and the parents there were 21. Over here was another bedroom actually, Doug tore it down. And I want to show you one other thing too before we go. This veranda was actually a derelict when I bought it, and I fixed it up. And on this couch, on a nice summer night, with the aid of a couple of bottles of whiskey and about 6 fellas, every trouble in the world was solved. Of course, they all came back the next day, but that night, everything was solved.
But it created new problems.
It sure created a lot of headaches, I'll tell you that. Oh, we had guys in here from up at Stevenson's all the way down to Blackyear's, all sitting in this little veranda.
I think I've partaken in a few of these events
Yes,
myself.
you have, Jeff.
When I was invited.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Oh yes, it's been a beautiful cottage.
Well, thank you, Norm, for that account. And
Yeah, right. We just put a new shingling on it a couple of years ago, thanks Christ, because it was raining just as hard inside as it was outside there for a while.
if you got everything now that's
I think so. What? Mr. Parnell, when he finished with the section over here, he moved to Transcona. And Ed, as I say, he moved out to Vivian. Mrs. Parnell, the woman that I actually bought the cottage from, she's out in North Battleford. Oh, she's dead now. She's dead now.
Good.
But that's the way it is, gentlemen.
very good.
The reason so many cottage owners were out at Malachi that February was because there was a winter road out there that year. Building materials were brought in so that Doris Woodward could have a new cottage built the following summer. Her original cottage was older than Norm's log cottage, and she decided that it wasn't worth restoring. She asked her Malachi friends to burn it down. This is what her new cottage looks like. We look again at the log cottage as it stands in 2009. Is it going to meet the same fate as Doris's old cottage, or is someone going to work hard to make it inhabitable again?